I just finished watching Echo, and truthfully, it kind of sucked. I wasn't really excited for the show when it was first announced, but that trailer made me excited because it was an amazing trailer. But I found the show just uneventful for the most part. Like, Echo herself as a character was great, definitely at her best here. We got to learn so much about her that added to her character. Daredevil and Kingpin were great, of course. The action was also really good, and the fact that this was released as a binge is a big plus for me. But there was a lot of points where the show was a bit boring. It felt like it didn't really know where it was going, and there was this weird, I want to say, exploration of a certain culture that was really uninteresting and pointless, and those bits really started annoying me at one point. And the action was great, but there wasn't really that much of it, and the finale itself was just like confusing as to why it happened that way. Overall, the show ended up being exactly what I thought it was going to be when it was first announced, but I unfortunately built this excitement towards it that ultimately made the show a disappointment for me. I just finished watching Crisis on Infinite Earths Part 1, and it was actually pretty good. The Tomorrowverse does not have a good track record. The last three movies I was each saying is the worst one so far, and now this one I think is the best one so far. The movie had Flash as the main character, and I really loved that, especially being such a big Flash fan. And it focused on the Flash so much more than I thought it would. There was like a lot of jumping around with the Flash, which I think works so well. Some of the action scenes were also so much fun with the Flash, and the movie overall had really good animation that made some of the scenes so satisfying to watch. I do have some minor gripes though. The movie has this out of order style to it that can make it confusing or just annoying to watch at parts. And there are stuff in there that almost feels like filler at points. And it is fun to watch, but it just feels like things we should have already seen in this universe. Overall, I really liked it, and I think it actually has potential to get better over time, seeing as it's part 1 of 3. It has potential to age better. Alright, so Madam Web. I was genuinely really excited for this movie because this concept sounded really great. And while the movie I don't think was great, it definitely could have done more of its concepts. Like, I think that's the biggest flaw of this movie. Just a good idea is not executed very well. Yeah, I still kinda liked it. It's another Spider-Man spin without Spider-Man, but this one actually was somewhat Spider-Man related. I thought that was kind of refreshing. I really enjoyed the Terminator-esque plot of this movie. And the villain wasn't great, but I do think he has moments where he felt threatened. And there's one scene that takes place in the subway I genuinely thought was great. Dakota Johnson was also really good in this movie, and I wouldn't mind seeing her again as Madam Web. But yeah, like the action in this movie definitely sucked, especially the final battle, if you can even call it that. There's this weird thing they established in the Amazon I genuinely thought it was stupid, and there's a big underuse of powers in this movie, if that makes sense. The movie 100% has flaws, but I don't know, I thought it had some charm to it. Alright, so I just watched The Spider, which is a horror Spider-Man fan film that I was actually really excited for because the concept just sounded insane. And it also had Chandler Riggs in as Peter Parker. And after seeing it, I'm glad to say this was really good for a fan film and just as a short film in general. It really took the concept of Spider-Man becoming Spider-Man to that horror level. Right away when he discovers his powers, it's shown in such a disgusting way that completely made sense. I love that scene. There's even a moment in this movie where it actually feels very Spider-Man-y, and you should forget for a bit what you're actually watching. I thought that was really nice. But when it gets going, it really gets going. There's some creepy stuff in this movie, and quality-wise for a fan film, it's really good and it's shot really nicely. My one actual issue with this movie, it's only 9 minutes long. I wanted more. I was really into it. Crisis on Infinite Earths Part 2. I really loved Part 1, so naturally I was excited for Part 2. And I will say it's a bit of a downgrade from Part 1, but I still really liked it. Part 1 set up a lot of things that Part 2, for the most part, paid off really well, while also setting up things for Part 3. Part 2 focused mainly on 2 characters, and the things this movie explored with those characters, I thought were done really well and actually were just really interesting. It also does a lot of what Part 1 does, and that's filling in gaps in the timeline of the Tomorrowverse, which is just satisfying to watch. There's also some really interesting interactions between the Bat family, who aren't actually in this movie that much, surprisingly. And really, some of my problems with this movie, I do feel like it doesn't focus as much on Crisis as it probably should, which because of that, sometimes it just doesn't feel like there's any stakes. And really, to add to that, this movie really showed off its low budget, something that Part 1 was really good at not showing. But overall, I really like this movie, and this is still on track to be. Alright, so I just saw Deadpool and Wolverine, and I loved it. It was everything I wanted it to be. This movie delivered. And as a comic book movie, it felt like a comic book brought to life. And that's the best compliment you can give to a comic book movie. This might be one of the funniest movies I've ever seen. Deadpool being the merc with a mouth alongside Wolverine, who is nothing like that, worked beyond perfection. And I mean, that's what we wanted to see. Ryan Reynolds Deadpool alongside Hugh Jackman's Wolverine. And the chemistry was just top tier. Hugh Jackman did not miss a beat. Combined with the fact he was finally wearing the yellow and blue tights, it might be his best performance as Wolverine. Also, considering how much we've seen from this movie, we didn't see anything. There's so much surprises here, it's actually crazy. And the action was so good. Deadpool at prime Wolverine and an R rating was something I could only dream about. This movie was an event, and I am beyond grateful it exists. Alright, so I just watched Batman Caped Crusader, and I didn't even know this was releasing all at once. I thought it was going to be weekly. That's usually how Amazon does it, so damn was I happy. And I can say, this was really good. I had such a good time watching this show. Out of the 10 episodes, there was only one I wasn't too fond of, but even that one I wouldn't say was bad, and all the rest were great. I love the 1940s setting, and I think it was used so well. Really random. I was actually a fan of the Batman and Robin 1949 serial, and this gave me those vibes. The animation also was pretty good. It did look a little on the low budget side, but I actually think that worked towards its advantage because of the time period. The villains were really fun, and some had interesting twists on them. And I mean, in general, the characters were really good on the show. There wasn't really anyone I disliked. My only two minor gripes about this show was there wasn't really a full season story. It was more so like a freak of the week type thing. And while Batman, I would say, was the main character, I thought he got a little sidelined for the most part, so I hope they changed. Alright, so The Boys Season 4 has finished, and I liked it. I did, but I think it is the weakest season, which I mean isn't saying much, because the first 3 seasons of The Boys is just peak. And the first thing I really noticed was the season really missed Soulja Boy. He added so much to season 3. And I mean, I'm kind of even scared to even rewatch those first 2 seasons because he's obviously not in it. The season 100% has its WTF The Boys type moments. Those are all great. It even introduced us some characters with powers that we're very familiar with, like shapeshifting or Spider-Man-esque powers, and put its own The Boys twist on it. That was really cool. One episode in particular was very Homelander focused, and it explored some of Homelander's trauma. That was really good. The season as a whole, though, I felt didn't have much going on, and there wasn't really a central goal. All the character stories were also at their worst this season. I swear, Frenchie was just in this season for the literal sake of it. And I really liked the ending to this season. It was a really good setup to season 5. It just wasn't really a good season 4 season finale. But I mean, overall, it's nowhere near bad. I still like the show. I like the characters. I like the world. I still enjoyed watching it. You can just feel it's a bit of a downgrade from those previous seasons. I just got done watching Crisis on Infinite Earths Part 3. I did like it, and I did enjoy it. I'll start with that. But it was a little uneventful. I was just expecting there to be so much happening, but this is the movie where, unfortunately, the lower budget just really showed. A lot of the action just wasn't that good, especially with the Anti-Monitor, who appeared at the end of the second movie, and even that wasn't picked up very well. I've been very underwhelmed with how little the multiverse was used in those first 2 movies, and I was just really expecting it to be such a big deal and a big part of this final one. But it just really wasn't. Although, there is one cameo that was incredible, to say the least. My favorite part of this movie was actually when it tied into the previous DC animated movie universe. There have been hints of that in those first 2 movies, but we just get to see some stuff in this movie that I did not think we would ever get to see. As far as the ending, though, I would say it was amazing. The way the movie ended was so closed-ended and open-ended at the same time. It really worked. I just got done watching Transformers 1, and I can say, this is the Transformers movie we've been waiting for. It takes place fully on Cybertron. The Transformers are purely center stage. Tells the origin of Optimus Prime and Megatron. All good stuff. I had a blast here. There's so much interesting things here. The origin story is a good one, and it's done really well. When the moment happens, that's also done really well. It hits, and then it's followed by such a heavy action scene. The movie is also way less childish than I was expecting, which I was really happy with because that's something I was just really scared of going into it. I really dug Chris Hemsworth as Optimus Prime. I think he has a voice for it. He is playing a way younger Optimus Prime, so I guess you have to take that into consideration, but I really think he did good. On the other hand, when it comes to the voice of Megatron, I really did not like it. It did not work for me at all at any point. My big, one thing of this movie, though, and it annoys me that it's such an, unfortunately, bit of a big deal, because there's so much good in this movie, I just really hate the look of it. I think the animation is gorgeous. I just really hate the art style. I've been saying that since the first trailer came out, a couple months back, and it's just stuck with me till the credits, unfortunately. And as far as the look of the Transformers, I really think all the live-action movies looked way better in that department. And the action too, aside from the final battle in this movie, I don't think there was anything too special. Overall though, like I said, this really is the Transformers movie we've wanted and we've needed. It does so much right. The first 2 episodes of Agatha All Along have finally dropped. I say finally, I was super excited for this show. And yeah, these first 2 episodes of Agatha were fine. I wasn't bored, so that's, I guess, a plus. Episode 1, I did actually enjoy, and I wanted to see how it's going to play out. Things just happened throughout the episode where I was like, oh, where is that going to go? How is that going to go? And it ended on actually a really sick note. Then episode 2 is when I lost a lot of my interest, which is probably not a good sign, because that's when the show, actually gets going. Throughout the episode, Agatha's just going there, going here, meeting certain people, all for which I just did not care for. And they had this whole buddy thing kind of going, but I also wasn't really liking it. Overall, I will say I am kind of interested to still continue watching the show because they did set up some intriguing things. And while a lot of the characters, all the characters, I'm being completely honest, I just did not like at all so far, Kathryn Hahn as Agatha is really fun to watch. I have seen Joker Folie à Deux. Unfortunately, wow, this was a bad movie. There are movies that go for something, and that's something some people will understand while others just won't. This movie, however, I don't think the people working on it, the director, the writer, knew what they were going for. Joker Folie à Deux accomplishes nothing. It's such a nothing movie. The first Joker had commentary on real world things, while the sequel is a commentary on how bad the first movie was. And that sounds like such a retarded statement, but if you watch Joker Folie à Deux, then you understand what I mean. We don't get as much Joker in this movie as we should, especially since the first movie was an origin, and by the end he becomes Joker. We get Joker, and this movie would have been a very good way to continue that, but we just don't get that much Joker. As far as the acting goes, I guess it was fine. Lady Gaga wasn't bad per se, but she was just kind of pointless in this movie. And Joaquin Phoenix and Lady Gaga, they did not have any chemistry with each other. The movie had 3 things going on. There was the aftermath of the first movie in the asylum, there was all the court stuff, and the musical parts. Everything in the asylum was kind of boring, and I think we just spent way too much time in there. The court stuff was so much less interesting than it should have been, and the musical aspects were just so unnecessary and so overdone. Overall, Joker Folie à Deux straight up disappointed me. I wasn't even excited for this movie, and I'm still disappointed. I just watched the first episode of The Penguin, and yeah, I really liked it. It was a solid premiere. It picks up not too long after the events of The Batman, and it was just so fun following the Penguin, or I guess Oz Cobb, as he's called in this universe apparently. I like the overall flow of this episode, the way one thing happens and sets everything else into motion. Literally from the first couple of minutes of this episode, it shows you what kind of show this will be. And really based on the trailers, I kind of already had an idea of what it would be, but when you're actually watching it, it's different. It went more in depth and into more corners of the Batman universe, and I'm actually really excited to see what other corners we explore later on in the season. And Colin Farrell kills as this character. The show doesn't really portray the Penguin as a good or bad guy, just as a guy who knows what he wants and is willing to do what it takes. I think it's a really good approach to having a villain as your main character. Overall, first episode is great. I cannot wait for the rest of the season. Superman Lois is back for season 4, premiering with the first 2 episodes. Personally, not really a big fan of this show, but that season 3 cliffhanger got me excited. And I gotta say, it was handled really well in the first episode. It was really interesting to me how the first episode was divided up, but it really worked. Primarily with how focused it was. There were some cuts made to this season, behind the scenes stuff, and you can really tell, but I cannot stress enough with how positive of a thing that is here. In episode 2, however, some things do return, unfortunately, but with how episode 1 ended, I do think those things worked. Lex Luthor, this take on Lex Luthor, he was a huge standout these first 2 episodes. He was menacing, and I'm really digging him as a villain. Overall, really solid start to the season, although I gotta say, I said that about I think every season of this show so far. It starts off good, but by the end I end up not liking it. Alright, so I just saw Venom The Last Dance, and as far as an ending, it was a good one, even a satisfying one. When it ended, I got emotional. I felt something. So the movie worked there. As far as the movie though, it is probably my least favorite of the trilogy. It was still fun. I still really enjoyed watching it. I specifically think the opening and the final battle were highlights. The movie picks up where the Spider-Man No Way Home post-credit scene ended off, and I think it progresses very nicely. The whole final sequence was so goddamn exciting, and it felt like something that really fits into these Venom movies, and I'm truthfully surprised we didn't get more stuff like that in the trilogy overall. This really weird and funny romantic relationship that Eddie and Venom have is still just as entertaining to watch as it ever was, and this is a very on-the-move type movie, so you get a lot of hilarious banter in here. The biggest negatives to me about this movie is just a lot of stuff that happens that's kind of random. Like Eddie hanging out with this one family for a really long time. The whole sequence in Vegas, there's a plane scene that I thought was going to be so much more than it actually was. Some new characters being introduced kind of out of nowhere, and even though the whole final sequence, the whole final battle was great, top tier, amazing, I feel like a lot of the setup for it was kind of boring. Overall, I still like this movie. It was a blast and it caps off the Venom trilogy very well. The next part in the Batman epic crime saga has now ended, and I loved it. This is how you do a movie and a show based on a supervillain. I can't believe it's that complicated. You make the villain a villain. Penguin had his moments where he maybe seemed like a decent man, primarily of some of the stuff with like Vic or with his mom, but the show always reminded you that he is not a good person. He does bad things. We see some bad things he did when he was young, and I did not expect something to happen in the finale that happened. It wasn't set up or anything, it just happened. And all of it was just benefited by Colin Farrell's performance. And I mean, everyone in the cast was great. Christine Milioti was so good as Sophia Falcone, I might even say she was the standout. Like, she was great in that episode that was dedicated to Sophia, and the episode overall just shed some light on the character. I loved all the crime aspects of the show and seeing Penguin rise to power. There were stakes, there was tension, and I mean, that's a really good thing because that's what the show was about. The one thing that did bug me about the show, watching it from episode to episode, was just the lack of mentions of Batman. I didn't need him to show up per se, but just mention from time to time. I want to see some fear of the Batman from these crime bosses or just anyone that was committing any sort of crime in the city, especially if you've seen the Batman, and particularly that opening, which is really showed how much of a figure he is over the criminals of Gotham, but we didn't get anything like that at all, which was a little annoying at times, I'm not gonna lie. But yeah, overall, I really liked this show. It took a side character from the Batman, gave him a show, and it worked, and it even set up the Batman Part 2 really nicely. Alright, so the first 2 episodes of Creature Commandos have been released. The DCU has started, and here we go. These 2 episodes were bangers. This show is just so much fun. It's so entertaining. The animation is beautiful. It literally feels like comic strips. The fight scenes are exciting. The voice acting from everyone is great. The character interactions are a blast, and just from the first episode, which introduced all of them, set the season in motion, I was just invested in every single character by the end of this episode, and I was truthfully just grateful I could at the very least watch the second episode before I had to wait a week for the next one. Episode 2 nicely progresses everything and focuses on one character while giving this one character so much depth. It was incredible, and I just wanted the next episode. These first 2 episodes felt like the show just didn't have any sort of restrictions, whether it's the budget, the runtime, the rating, and it just felt so nice and refreshing. Also, some of the things you would expect from a James Gunn project, like the music choices or the humor, it's all there and it's all great. It's only the first 2 episodes, but as of right now, solid starts at DCU, and I am beyond excited for the rest of this season. I just watched Kraven the Hunter, and I'm not gonna lie, I did quite enjoy it, but I tend to enjoy all these movies. Man Web, Morbius, Venom, and Craven was no different. I thought Aaron Taylor Johnson was actually really good in this movie, even though I wouldn't say he actually felt like Craven for most of it. I actually think Russell Crowe felt more like Craven, but it was still entertaining to watch. It was just the actor's charisma kicking in. Some of the action was really fun too. One action sequence specifically of a helicopter was really sick, and I didn't think this is something I'll be praising the movie for, but I thought there was some genuinely good world building here. If we're talking Easter eggs or we're talking characters, I like how that was done. The movie all in all has some really entertaining moments at times, but I can't deny that, like, it does have bits where it's a bit uninteresting, kind of boring. I don't think the movie used its R rating to its fullest like I was hoping. The origin story part of this movie wasn't that bad, but the movie just really got going once we got past that point. Overall, the movie did disappoint me. I was just expecting more. I thought this one would stand out a little more, but, like, it was still enjoyable. I've only seen the David Harbour Hellboy movie, and I actually enjoyed it. It was fun. It had some action. David Harbour was great, I think, in that movie as Hellboy. I haven't seen the original ones with Ron Perlman. I'll get to them eventually, but this one, I had a blast with. It was everything I thought it would be based on the trailers, and I just had a good time. It was horror-y. There were some really, like, creepy, sick scenes in this movie that I just had such a good time with. I thought the setting was really dope. I even thought the time period, I don't know if you can feel the time period like that well, but like still you knew what time period it was, and I think it worked. I also kind of enjoyed how this movie kind of just got right into things. You didn't really get much backstories, much introduction, just kind of got into things, and you know, I almost kind of really like that. Like, I'm someone who does like some backstory, some reveals, some adding on to characters, that type of crap. Like, yeah, I don't know, I kind of liked it. It worked for me. And it definitely was a lower budgeted movie, but honestly, I feel like the movie uses that towards its advantage. That, like, as you're watching it, even if you know in the back of my head it's a really low budget movie, you sometimes could forget that. Like, it really almost works in its favor, if that makes sense. Like, if you actually seen the movie, the way it plays out, the way it's, like, shot and everything, like, it looks good. It's a good quality movie. Like we're talking cinematography, like directing, like settings, like all that kind of stuff. Like, I thought this was a really good movie. I really enjoyed it. And I did not remotely think I was going to like it as much as I did. I wouldn't really say that the Umbrella Academy Season 4, the final season, was like the best season, but the characters just make it fun all the way through.